Welcome to my channel. My name is White Eagle. Today I'm going to present to you a long video, and I hope you do stay till the end and don't get bored. Basically, I have separated this video in two parts. The first part is called Death of the Ego During Daytime, and I'm going to show you my videos, my past videos that I have already taught you how to work with the death of the ego during the day. As you go to work, you do whatever activity you are doing. And the second part is death of the ego during nighttime, and there we're going to see what Master Samael asks us to do. Let us get started. So I'm going to start this video by quoting Master Samael's here words on the ego. He says, "Who are these actors? Where do they live and why? I tell you in truth that these actors belong to time, really. Each one of these actors come from past ages. If we say that the I is a book of many volumes, we are asserting a great truth. If we affirm that the ego comes from many yesterdays, it is true. Therefore, the ego is time. The many I personify time. They are our own defects, our errors contained inside the clock of time. They are the dust of the centuries buried deep inside our psyches. When one knows the precise technique for the dissolution of those undesirable elements we carry inside, then one gets progress beyond limits. It becomes imperative, urgent, indispensable to know with accuracy the didactic for killing the ego. Only in this way it becomes a fact that the disintegration of those undesirable elements we carry in our interior." That's Master Samael own way. Now my words. I have given you one technique to use during daytime. Yes, I hope you do remember this video about the ego tree, and I'm going to leave the link below. This is these are the roots, and the ego feeds from our energy, and you need to appeal to the Divine Mother for the disintegration of the ego when it manifests. Yes, and if you do like that, if you proceed like that, then the ego tree will start to dry out, and it will start to to die, and at some point it will fall. Now there is another video. Is called Achieving Balance in Life, and I think there are three parts. This is part one. Yes, now we need to observe our moods. This is part two, Achieving Balance. Yes, to live in the present moment in order to catch the ego. And let us continue. All these videos, the links will be in the description below. And here I taught you about to be careful with the thoughts and go back to zero, to being okay. Yes, and try to not to let the ego take control over you, your emotions, because if it goes -4, -5, then you explode in anger, or you cannot kill it anymore. The ego is already taking control of your whole human machine. Let us continue. Just a moment. And then the other video is called Achieving Balance in Life 3. And here I speak about the environment, that we need a tough environment for our egos to come to the surface. So if you think that you can kill an ego while you are enjoying a party, that will not work. Yeah. So then I gave you another video with the example, my example of self-control after some time of working on my egos. Yes, so after some time, don't expect things to be overnight. It will not happen. You need to be patient, and you will see progress in your dreams, in the astral. And after some time, you will see how your addictions, are not addictions anymore. Yeah. Now, let us start now with the important part of this video, which is death of the ego at night time. And these teachings, all of them belong to Master Samael. I will just make comments between brackets, or I will clarify some points. The Master Samael speaks about 3 steps with the ego: the discovery, the comprehension, and the execution. Yes, and he says that at night we lie down to meditate on the events of that day. Yes, in any given situation or event, 3 factors must be applied: discovery, this is when we discover the manifestation of an ego that broke our internal peace; comprehension, when you understand that it is an ego in action, acting through you; and execution, when we ask the Divine Mother to kill it during the practice of alchemy. Now, point to remember, these are my words. There is no need to find out the names of the egos that manifested in us in order to pass to the next step, the execution during alchemy. You simply ask the Divine Mother to kill such and such ego that came up in such and such event. The main point is for you to realize that it was an ego acting through you at the time, and pass to the next step, the execution. Yes, it's when you do the practice of alchemy. Now, Master Samael points out the next topic, which is only with the Divine Mother the egos can get dissolved. And here we have a conversation between the student and the master. The student says, Gurdjieff is called the master. Did he work in the 9th sphere, or he only worked on the dissolution of the ego through the work of comprehension and dissolution? Master Samael replies, he worked in the 9th sphere. He fabricated the superior existential bodies of the being, but he did not reach the dissolution of the ego because he rejected his Divine Mother. How can an ungrateful son dissolve the ego? The ungrateful son does not progress in these studies. First of all, before we reach the father, we must reach the mother. That is obvious. Without the poetic power, the holy fire of alchemy, nobody can disintegrate the psychic aggregates. A person by himself or herself can achieve nothing. With mere comprehension, it is not possible to dissolve the egos. Yeah? And then we have another topic. Comprehension of an ego does not mean the solution of the ego in question. And the master says that the knife of the consciousness allows someone to separate the egos one has comprehended. To separate the egos from one's psyche does not mean dissolution. I repeat, such egos will fight incessantly to re-enter and accommodate themselves back inside the organic machine, our physical body. I do not deny that with the knife of the consciousness we can comprehend any ego. We can separate the ego from our psyche, but all this is not enough. I say this because the ego separated from our psyche will remain alive, and it will not resign itself to remain far from home. The ego will try once and another time to retake its lost place. It will become a tempting demon. One must disintegrate the ego that, with the knife of the consciousness, has been separated or identified. Yes, that is to say, that we carry in our interior. And nobody can disintegrate it by means of other powers. That is not the power of the Divine Mother Kundalini. Only she can reduce the ego to cosmic ashes, right? My advice is, these are my words again, the more effort you put in killing the egos, the more results you will get, and progress is assured. The less effort you put into killing the egos during daytime and nighttime and throughout alchemy, then you will not get visible results and may even end up back where you started with your egos. So constancy in the work is key. Now, the master explains that there are two serpents, the ascending one and the descending one. And here, if you remember, if you have been following my videos, then I did explain this before in one video. Now, Master Samael explains, from the same word Kundalini, Kunda reminds us of the abominable Kundartiwador organ, and Lini means to end. That is to say, to put an end to the Kundartiwador organ. By making the Kundalini serpent ascend in us, the Kundartiwador organ is turned into cosmic dust. So here I show you my video. As I said to you, I explained this topic before, and you will have it in the link below for you to watch it again if you want. Video 15. Now, Master continues, in Genesis, the tempting serpent of Eden appears, the horrible python with 7 heads, that is the abominable Kundartiwador organ. But there are also appears in the old wisdom Moses and the bronze serpent, or Kundalini. Gurdjieff made the mistake of confusing the Kundalini with the Kundartiwador. There are two serpents, one that ascends and one that descends. The one that ascends is Kundalini. She opens her way along the Shushuma, along the spinal column, up to the brain and then to the heart. The other serpent, the descending serpent, goes down from the coccyx up to the atomic hells of man. It is the Kundartiwador organ or python serpent that crawls in the mud and had the power to make us fall in sin. The other is different. Kundalini has the power to free us from sin. Now, Master says that we are terribly weak, but we believe ourselves to be very strong. Nothing could we do without help, but obviously we do have help. We can count with the power of the sacred serpent, with the Divine Mother Kundalini. Only she can, in truth, help us to disintegrate the egos. Only she, with her flames, can reduce any ego to cosmic dust. But to try to disintegrate the egos without counting on the help of Devi Kundalini Shakti is to condemn oneself to utter failure, and that is lamentable. Now, if you remember, I gave you in video 60 the process, how to go through, the practice of alchemy from start to end successfully. So I will leave the link and you can watch it again. And then the master says, the personality is only a puppet pulled by invisible strings. Yeah? Now, Master Samael urges us to develop a psychological gymnasium. Master Samael continues by saying, constantly I get letters from different brothers of the Gnostic movement. Some complain about their families, of their dad, of their mom, of their brothers. Others protest against the woman. Also, the women speak against their husbands, and naturally, all ask for a balm for their broken hearts. Up to now, among so many letters, I have not seen one, not a single one, of someone who is happy with adverse situations in his life or her life. All make complaints, and that is lamentable. They do not want the psychological gymnasium. It means to work out in the psychological gym by killing the ego with the Divine Mother from moment to moment. Yeah, that is my clarification of what the Master is saying here. They rather escape it, and to me, as a teacher, it makes me sad. I say, poor people, they do not know how to take advantage of the psychological gymnasium. They want paradise. They do not want to learn the need for the adversities. They do not want to take advantage of the worst opportunities. Truly, they do not want the self-discovery. When one wants the self-discovery, obviously he or she needs to go through tough gymnasiums. Only by going through painful gymnasiums the ego inevitably manifests. Yes? The defect or ego is then discovered during such situations. And when one has comprehended this or that psychological defect, then he is ready for the execution, the killing of the ego. Now, in the case of single people can't work in the ninth sphere with alchemy, but they still can make the petition to Godmother, to Kundalini, as she is called in India. She is that living fire that is latent in all organic and inorganic matter. If one appeals to this type of energy, if one uses concentration of the heart, mind, and feelings in her, one will be assisted. I am sure that the igneous power can reduce to cosmic ashes the psychological aggregate in question, means the ego. Now, this is for married people, yes, killing the ego during alchemy. Now, it is convenient to know that the serpentine power that develops inside the Gnostic ascetic, its power is multiplied by means of the sexual electric force, by means of alchemy. So if you have seen my video number 60, I did tell you that you will feel an electricity. That's the sexual electric force that the master is speaking about here, right here. And once you start feeling that electric force, that's when you can start asking the Divine Mother for the killing of such and such ego that manifested during the day while you were at work or while you were talking to somebody, or etc., etc. Now let us continue. Due to this reason, the woman who has a male or the male who has a priestess or woman will be able to really work in depth, precisely during the alchemical copula. So basically what the master is saying that is not just going through alchemy and controlling that you do not reach an orgasm. It is also the opportunity for you to put your mind in the egos that you know you have, or so it's not just about pleasure, or sorry for introducing you another another thing that you need to do during the practice of alchemy, but people who do ask for the killing of such and such egos, then they advance quickly in this, they progress, they ascend the mountain faster. That's my point. So couples only need to concentrate on Devi Kundalini. She is the sacred cobra of ancient mysteries, who can clearly and truly, with electric sexual power of alchemy, turn to ashes in a quick way any psychological aggregate or egos that we have previously comprehended. In any case, my dear brothers, before anything, there is the need to discover the defect, the ego, that we want to reduce to ashes. Such defect can only be discovered with self-observation, and adverse situations offer us plenty of opportunities. It is a pity that people want to run away from adverse situations. They protest instead of giving thanks to God the Father for such brilliant occasions. There are hard psychological gymnasiums, very hard, and some extremely difficult or almost impossible events. I stop here, and my comment is that yes, the more you advance, for example, in the second mountain, there are many tough or almost impossible events. But, with alchemy, everything gets disintegrated to dust. The egos. But the more tough the gymnasium situations we get involved into, the better the self-discovery. The egos come to the surface and get decapitated, and we become liberated gradually. Now the method. Master gives the method. Let us suppose we went through a situation where the ego of self-love got hurt, offended, as we love ourselves too much. What to do? At night, being very calm, we lie down in our bed facing up, with the body being totally relaxed, closed eyes and breathing rhythmically. We must rebuild the scene as it occurred. So mentally go through the situation and review every step, every word, every emotion, and find out when you got hurt, what threw you off balance. Now the master gives an example. An event where we found our spouse talking to another man alone, or our husband talking to a young, beautiful girl in a hidden corner. So by visualizing, we will gather psychological data. First, we will find the ego of jealousy as the first cause. Second, the ego of anger. Third, the ego of self-love, mortally hurt by the event. Once we discover the egos that interacted during the scene, there is now the need to work on them immediately. We must now dissolve them. Yes, eliminate them in the next practice of alchemy. Once discovered, there is no more to do but to reduce them to cosmic dust. Therefore, one must pass now to work immediately in the ninth sphere. Yeah, so the master here is asking you that once you do this discovery of the ego, the comprehension, then after the meditation practice, the master is asking you to go and do a practice of alchemy with your spouse. Yes, and by doing the petition to the Divine Mother during alchemy, or alone if you're single, by petition again to the Divine Mother. Yes. Now my explanation. To sum up, the master speaks of discovery of the egos that manifested during the day at different times of the day. Next, you need to comprehend what egos came to the surface and manifested through you inside a particular event. And next, to do a practice of alchemy, yeah, if possible. Yes. During the practice of alchemy, mental prayer to the Divine Mother is needed in order to eliminate with holy fire those egos you found a moment ago in your meditation. If you cannot do a practice of alchemy right after the practice of meditation, then you keep the memory of what egos manifested. And then next time when you can do a practice of alchemy, remember to ask for their dissolution. Yes. Now the master continues teaching how the work is done. It is clear that in those moments, nobody wants to work in the ninth sphere, in alchemy, because one is very offended, and it would be better to take a shower and wait to see if you can calm down. But if, in spite of all, one manages certain self-control and goes to do the work in the ninth sphere, then the better it is. This is the procedure. To invoke Kundalini Shakti precisely during the alchemical copula, to appeal, to pray to her that, first, to eliminate that ego of jealousy that can be deeply rooted in us. Second, to eliminate the ego of anger, but not an abstract anger. You must ask for the specific anger that you felt during that scene of jealousy. We must beg Kundalini Shakti to turn to dust that monster. Third, to eliminate the ego of self-love. Truly, we must continue with this work of petition during the day and at night in subsequent alchemical practices until the three egos involved in the scene of jealousy are dead. Yeah, so don't think that in just one alchemical practice it will be gone. No, he is asking you to keep working on them. Now, please see how we take our material to work on the death of the ego from practical everyday life. Yes. Now, dreams. The topic is dreams, and I think that this is important. So there is a student who asks the master, "Master, can we use meditation to kill the defects one has in dreams?" And the master answers, "Well, I'm going to tell you something. Many letters arrive to me from people who have nocturnal pollutions. Almost everyone asks me for a cure against such a painful illness. I always tell them that as long as the egos of nocturnal pollution continue to exist inside them, then there will be nocturnal pollutions. Let us suppose that a certain XX guy has a lustful dream. And as a consequence, there comes a nocturnal pollution, a wet dream. What to do? Well, the moment we wake up, right there and then, we must work on the ego that produced the wet dream. We must appeal to Devi, Kundalini, Shakti to disintegrate the ego. And we must continue working on that ego until it becomes dust. But if another day, another nocturnal pollution occurs, what does this mean? It means that there is another ego of lust that has manifested. Therefore, we must repeat the same work. The day that there are no more egos of that type, the nocturnal pollutions will have ended. And that's the only path to heal ourselves from that illness. Now, my point here, the work of elimination of the ego is carried out here in the physical, and we see the results in the astral. We can't enter the astral and try to kill our egos. Yeah? The master continues, to try to kill the ego by running away from practical life is completely absurd. Do not try to evade real life. Be more practical if you really, truly want to kill the ego. For this, you will have to pass, and all of you, through great moral crisis. And then he says a famous phrase of Master Samael. If the water does not boil at 100 degrees, what needs to be cooked will not get cooked, and what needs to be disintegrated will not get disintegrated. So unless we go through moral crisis, through difficult situations that life brings our way, we will not kill the egos that need killing. The sense of psychological self-observation will develop more and more in each one of you as you go using it. Do not forget that a sense that is not used becomes atrophied. Now, free consciousness. The master continues by saying, let us reduce those egos to dust, and the consciousness will be free. A free consciousness is an illuminated conscience. It is a conscience that can see, hear, touch, and feel the great realities in the superior worlds. It is an omniscient and divine conscience. The day that you have killed the ego in its totality, the last thing that you will need to eliminate will be what? The germs of the ego. Once the ego is dead, there remains the germs that are terribly malignant. And I clarify here that that's the work done in the third mounting along the path. These germs must also be disintegrated, reduced to ashes. We need to take possession of ourselves if we want to become kings and priests of nature, according to the order of Melchizedek. And here I put an image. Here is Abraham meeting Melchizedek, right? We can't take possession of ourselves as long as the conscience is buried among the psychic elements, yeah, the egos. The conscience, once it has taken possession of itself, is a free conscience. A conscience that has taken possession of itself is admitted to the order of Melchizedek. It is an omniscient conscience, illuminated, perfect, and that's what we need. The day that you have taken an illuminated conscience, the day that you have become truly free, that day you will have crystallized that, what is called soul. You will become all soul. Even your physical body will become soul, and you will be full of cosmic attributes and powers, divine powers. Now, I'm going to be ending this video very soon. And after hearing the Master's words, I want to show you that yes, this work gives results. Do not feel discouraged because I've been there, and I can tell you, I can show you now the results that I have noticed. First of all, I showed you this one. If you devote yourself to killing the ego daytime and nighttime, you meditate and then to proceed to kill the egos with alchemy, in time you should be able to start pulling larvae, the plural, from your astral body. Yes, so the ego in the end is a larva inside your body. Each ego is a larva, right? So you will see larvae or larva, yes? And it needs to come out from your body, your astral body. At the end of the first mountain, in the astral, I started pulling larvae from my toes, and it was horribly painful. Yes, I was picking them and pulling them. I do remember that one very well. And it didn't stop there. Let us continue. I'll show you. Just a moment. In the second mountain, I tell you, I put this image because one time in the astral, my back was itching and I started touching my back, and I feel something soft is hanging in the middle of my back. I started pulling it and I felt that it was, you know, pulling something from inside my spinal cord. As I pulled, I saw with astonishment that I had pulled a very long dead larva that had been living inside my vertebra of my spinal cord. I wake up in my bed and I realize that the ego had been in control of my human machine by living inside my spinal cord all these years. Yeah. So I managed to pull a long dead larva from my back, yes, that had been living inside. But now it was dead and it came out. Yeah. Once they start dying, they come out. And then the third mountain, at the entrance of the third mountain, I wake up myself. This is a swimming pool, yes, but without water. It's an empty swimming pool, and there are steps, yes. So I wake up in the astral and I am coming out from a swimming pool. I am on the steps coming out, and I know that my body has been cleaned of all the remaining larvae. I look back and indeed I see the swimming pool is full of larvae. And I show you now. I remember this image. I could not believe how many larvae were inside this swimming pool. I walk away slowly from that swimming pool, making sure not to allow those larvae to climb back on me. I don't give my back on them, just in case. And once I am at a certain distance, I hear the voice of my being saying, "There is still one last larva hiding in the wound of your arm." And yeah, to my surprise, I pull my arm and I see that there is a wound. And indeed, there was a cut in my arm. And when I opened the wound, it hurt me, of course. I found a larva inserted quite deep inside the wound and alive. I pull the larva, and of course it hurts as I take it out. I will never forget this day when I took the last larva out of my body. Yeah, I was in hospital waiting to see if I would make it out alive this time. So my conclusion to end this video, and regarding the Master Samael's teaching on the killing of the ego. I am a witness that asking the Divine Mother to kill our egos works, and it is possible to kill up to the last ego and throw it from our body. Okay, so up to here, meditate on this video, please, and I will leave the links to all the videos that I have that are in relation to the death of the ego during daytime. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.